Hey listeners, before we dive into today's episode, a quick heads up. At about the 35-minute mark in this recording, you'll notice a slight distortion on my mic. It doesn't affect Colby's audio, and the conversation is well worth your time. Just wanted to be upfront about this distortion you might see. Now let's jump into my chat with Colby Stackhouse. Welcome to another episode of Patio Pondering Podcast. Today we're taking just a little bit of a different path than we typically do. We're going to be related to ag background, but today I'm interviewing Colby Stackhouse, Mr. Colby Stackhouse, the band director at Leo Junior Senior High School and Elementary School. I met Colby. It's really hard for me to call him by his first name, not Mr. Stackhouse, because he's the band leader for my son and got him excited about marching band and jazz band. So welcome to the podcast, Colby. Could you just start off, just kind of give us an idea of your life growing up, where you went to school, and what inspired you to become a band director?
Yeah, so I grew up on a farm in Corona in DeKalb County, and all of my siblings were in band. It was like nobody around us did band, but my family did. My aunt was a band director, and I can't imagine how many times my grandma told me growing up when I told her I wanted to be a band director. She was like, or actually at that point in time I just said I was going to be a musician. I always knew I wanted to be a band director. But she said, "You're never going to make a living doing that. You're never going to, like, you got to find something you're going to make a living in." And I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to do that. And she got to see me become a band director and all the sorts, and she was very proud of that. But it was always that thing that stuck and lingered of like, you gotta find something, but it's like, you gotta find something you love. So that's how I became a band director. I was like, I love music. I love teaching. Well, these two things are perfectly married, aren't they? So I went to college up in Western Michigan University, and it took 5 years to get my degree there. Didn't do any summer schooling because I taught band camps all summer. And
Okay.
once I finished, it was like magic. The job opened up in my hometown. And I took it at DeKalb Middle School, moved into my parents' basement for a year, saved money up, got married. And after 4 years of teaching middle school, which I loved, I could have done that the rest of my life, but I decided I wanted to be a head director. And Leo's band program opened up. A great community here in Leo. It was a no-brainer. It was 20 minutes away. I took it. I was just very thankful to get that job. And now we're going into our 4th year at Leo, and things are going swell.
Well, we're glad you're here. I know my son's musical appreciation has blossomed since spending time with you. So
Appreciate that.
if we could
awesome.
dive back to your if we could work on some other stuff in addition to the band, it'd be great. So I find it really funny that your grandmother told you needed to find something that you could make money, and she was a farmer's wife.
Yep. She's very proud of being a farmer's wife. She raised 5 kids, but it was just that I don't know where that thought process came from. Her daughter was the band director, and her daughter made a good living being a band director, and maybe it's just she thought I was going to be a starving artist and go cruise ship to cruise ship. I don't know. But I think in the end she wanted me to stay close to home. I think that's what she wanted.
She probably envisioned you playing outside the Grand Wayne Center with a tin cup and begging for money, riffing on whatever.
Yeah. She knew I wasn't Led Zeppelin. She knew it.
Yeah. So you grew up on the farm. You had told me that the Stackhouse farm was one section there outside of Corona, and you had your aunts and uncles that lived in the same section. You could see your grandparents' house. So what were some of the things that you did on the farm in addition to playing horns and entertaining the cattle?
Well, I always had horses to ride around. I had my guns, archery. I was the youngest of 4, so there was a lot of time where I was home and my siblings were doing school or after school stuff. Um, so I would do that. We had 4-H animals constantly to take care of. I did horse
Hmm.
and pony. I did archery. I did swine and calves and 4-H. So I constantly taking care of that. Uh, but it was always fun because you were kind of like in your own little world. And then when you have acreage and acreage of forest to play in, that's just a blessing too. I was never bored.
Oh yeah, you get to go out and just be a boy.
Yeah, I would never take that for granted. Just get on the 4-wheeler
Yeah,
and go.
that is a cool upbringing. Oh yeah, get on the 4-wheeler and go. Yeah, if you don't have the access to just get on the 4-wheeler and go, you just don't understand the freedom you have. First, you have the freedom of being allowed to do it, but then you have a freedom of having a place to do it.
Oh yeah, and just to be like an 8-year-old boy and to be able to get on your 4-wheeler and like point to the other end of the property which you can't really see and then just spend all day there just exploring. And you got your little Red Ryder gun
Hmm.
on your back. Like you just it's a good upbringing. It's something where it was like the perfect mix of how the boomer generation which raised me was always like we stayed out until the lights came on and everything, and our
Oh yeah.
parents never asked. Well, like I stayed in the woods a lot of the times, and till it was time to come back with my cousins, they were always over. And I'm not gonna lie,
Huh?
we got a computer right around 1999 or 98. I think that was when our first one came into the household. And I loved that too. Don't get me wrong, that thing was awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you could stay in
I
the
wasn't
woods
all
until you saw the
outdoorsy all the
security
time.
light go on in the barnyard, and like, oh, I better get home. The light's on.
Yep.
That is cool. So it is interesting that uh, the conversations that we have around Jonathan showing his livestock. You mean you truly understand the challenges that he has because you had livestock, pigs and horses.
Yes. Yeah. It's really a cool thing where, uh, I mean, you got a life that's depending on you, and you become such good friends with this animal that has known really nothing but you because
Hmm.
you bought it since a calf, you fed it and everything, and um, so it's not just a commitment. It's more than that. It's learning how the world works. It's learning that there is a life that's dependent on you. And at the end of that tunnel of showing it and everything, I don't know. Do you do the auction block at the end?
Oh yeah, yep.
It's learning that you have to let it go. That the food doesn't come from nowhere. It's like going on a hunt for the first time, and you get your
Mhm.
first kill from a deer. It's sobering. It's very sobering.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like that's why it's so important, and that's why I understand if a kid has to miss something due to 4-H. And you know how I harp about our schedule and how I hold that one dear, but
Yeah.
I understand. Like there's
Hmm.
4-H is important.
Well, it gives as as we have changes in the demographics and we have changes in the students and we have changes in the parents. It seems like we have fewer opportunities where parents allow their children to be in activities where they learn lessons that are outside of the classroom. And 4-H and Scouts are two of those programs that we're part of.
Yeah, it's either that or like they think that their kid's going to make millions of dollars and doing sports in college, which is fine. I really hope they do. But it's either they're hyper focused on something that's such a small percentage of happening, or they don't allow them to do it at all sometimes. And I think they just lose sight that there are things that will give an immediate benefit to your kid's life. And no, it's not $1 million. You're going to make $1 million in your lifetime if you do it right. Like if you just save a little bit, like, but
Hmm.
there's like 4-H. It's something that's immediate. You know you're going to get benefit out of it. It's
Yeah.
stop trying to pinpoint what's going to happen. focus on what works.
Sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole marching band mantra is, yeah, our goal is to get to state, and we're going to work hard to do that. But we you got to grow. You got to figure it out, and you got to be able to willing. You got to be willing to take it on the chin, a few times, and you're never going to
Mm-hmm.
grow unless you do that.
Yeah. So I assume that you had a similar experience at 4-H that I had and Jonathan have, is that there were some setbacks and some learnings, but you learned from those setbacks. Are those lessons that you learned in 4-H and then on a farm ones that you're able to apply as you're helping students, whether they're in marching band, jazz band, or just those fifth graders and sixth graders you're teaching notes for the first time?
Yes, as you're saying that, off the top of my head, I would say I would think about probably my third year in. I hadn't won a lot. Like I was a really good horseman. Like I won all the time, showmanship and all the sorts. But like when it came to the swine and my calves, I just felt like I couldn't figure it out. How was I going to win these competitions? And I was so focused on all that. And the lesson was really was at the I raised this calf for what was it? We get the calf and for 5-6 months, and I would get to the end and I'd get handed nothing. I'd get handed nothing, and it was like one of those things. Like, was it worth it? Did I? Me too. And absolutely, it was worth it. And because of all that, I grew no matter what. I learned how to take care of the animal. I learned how to create passions for the livestock. And then put that into my professional life. Well, I mean, you could go, you could plan perfectly. You can do everything right that is right for your situation. But say we go to a competition and the judge says, nope, you're not going to be getting that first place. You're not even going to be in a placement. Was it worth it? Yes, it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah, those lessons. Sometimes we don't teach our children to fail, and not getting first place is not necessarily a failure, but it's if you don't reach your goal, sometimes you get more out of that than when you do. And I like your example of not getting a first place or a placement.
Right? I mean, think about the first year when I came to Leo. We had 46 kids in the marching band, and we were in Class B. The smallest band to make state finals that year, I think, had 170 kids in it. You're looking at,
And you had 45.
yeah, you're looking at this going objectively. Are we going to make this? Do we have a chance? And from a director's mind, you're like, nah, no, we don't. We do not have a chance. But if we fail this time, if we dare to fail this time, then next time we might just get closer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went from 2 years ago, we were last place in Class B, and then last season we were 14th in the state, just 4 spots out of state final. And we were marching
Mm-hmm.
67. And again, the smallest band that went, I think that was DeKalb, had 120 or so. And they had a great year that
Yeah.
year. Really proud of those kids. Really started a lot of those kids on their instruments. So, if any of them are listening to this, good job, guys. Proud of you.
Yeah. So you had a little bit of an influence. Yeah.
Ow, sure. But they did
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
work, and I was happy for them.
You take a little bit of credit. Yeah.
Nah,
So as you, so you're in your ninth year of teaching, or will start?
this is yes. So, this will let me count. No, this will be my 8th year of teaching. Starting 8th year. Ninth
Okay.
year, I was subbing full time. But if you're talking about as a certified teacher,
Okay.
as in my own classroom, 8 years.
8 years. So I'll throw it out there. What is the biggest challenge to you as either a teacher or a band teacher?
Biggest challenge, I would say expectations for our kids and parental follow through. We have amazing parents here in Leo, and there's amazing parents everywhere, and everybody's doing a great job and wonderful job. But sometimes, like, you'll have a scheduling thing that'll come up, and it's like, guys, we had this on our schedule for 6 months now when I released it and stuff. And it's just that it's not that expectation of, well, they committed to it and now they need to be there. So that's rare, I would say, in this community. But a lot of my director friends will deal with that. It's just treating it like an obligation rather than the surplus to your education, which is an opportunity to grow. That I say that's probably our biggest challenge. It's the households treating anything like it's an obligation, which I get it. I totally get it. It's tiring after a long day, and anything I'm saying right now is not meant to be a hash at any parent or
Oh, no,
whatsoever.
no, no.
Yeah, everybody's doing a great job. Like, you're raising your kids, you're going to work, and you're tired at the end of the day, and I get it that it feels like an obligation, but it's separating that feeling from reality of, like, okay, how do I want my kid to treat work? How do I want my kid to treat their time with their family? How do I want them to treat, any kind of obligation? And they're watching and they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if we don't do that right, it's really hard to break that habit when they get older. You're going to create a lot of people that are going to stare at their cell phones, watching reels, trying to get some happiness out of things rather than just being in the moment, learning that, if you stick with this job that you do enjoy, as long as there's a chance of improvement, that it's going to be way better than than moving around all the time. Create a better environment, make your team better. I mean, I can think of no better example really than college sports right now, which I got a chip on my shoulder about all that. It's just nobody's staying at a college and building their team for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's so rare now. It's who's going to pay me more? Where am I getting the most from? And I get that. Everybody's got to look out for themselves. But feel like that's a part of society that is really hard to overcome right now. But it's not a barricade that can't be taken over. We're getting better every year. Our parents are awesome. It's nothing that holds us back. It's just something that is a challenge at times. If that makes sense.
So how do you as so band's an elective, and if you choose band for the most part, it's a conscious choice. It's not making a decision between AP English and regular English. You have to take one of the two. So I would assume that you get a different population because it's an elective and people want to be in it. But do you also get those students that might be exploring? Maybe they thought it might be a throwaway into your that grace the band room.
Yeah, always. You always get a few, but those kids are always so much fun. It's. I sometimes will get kids. They'll come in halfway through the year and they'll just say, "I want to try this thing out and see where it goes." They don't put any effort in to learn the instrument, but they spend some time around some of the best students in the school, and then I'll see them
Mm-hmm.
after they quit the class because the effort thing. They'll still be walking through the hallways with the band friends and stuff, and they get a
Uh-huh.
good influence from it. And I will never be offended if a kid wants to be in my class, even if they absolutely do not learn their instrument. I will never be offended by it. Like, it's just one of those things. I will always have um, a, like some kids that find it too challenging or don't want to put in the effort, and that's okay. It's okay.
But as you're working with a band, And if there's anything in a school besides athletics where you're only as good as your weakest instrument, it's a band. How do you how do you in your band, the various bands you work with, how do you concentrate your efforts appropriately so that you're helping that weakest link, but at the same time not holding back those that get it?
That's $1 million question that sometimes I don't have an answer to. Sometimes it's just one kid that needs help more that day than anybody else, and sometimes all the kids that need some help more than others are on the same page and they need help that day. And the band is one of those unique things where there is no bench. Whereas everybody is on display, everybody has to do their part all the time. And it does not mean you don't get to make mistakes. Heck, we all are making mistakes all the time. It really comes down to how much effort are you willing to put in. The best answer I have is you go to the issue spot, you fix it the best you can with kindness and grace, and you just come at it with an understanding that they are really trying. You give them a little pep talk the best you can. If it doesn't improve over time, after and it's purposeful that it's not improving their practicing, then you sometimes have to look at what's best for the whole section. Like maybe they sit out this portion, but that's so
Hmm.
rare, and I do not like going to that spot or doing that because the lesson that could be learned with them, not being good at something is way more valuable than the lesson of them sitting there and watching.
Hmm. So you've got to
So, and then
you've got a lot of balancing acts to do.
oh yeah, every classroom I feel, even just your daily math class, I think has to do that same balancing act of this math teacher is about to be judged by our esteemed, state legislator on their effectiveness based off of how this teenager is going to do this test in the morning on a given April day. It's
Hmm.
how how is this supposed to, they got that running through their mind. So what do you do? Do you spend all your time focusing on trying to get the lowest up to just being sufficient? Do you try to take your highest students to push the score average up? Or do you focus more on the middle and keep that up? Or do you just do a little bit of each? And I can tell you right now, the little bit of each is impossible.
Yeah.
You have to make a choice day to day.
We have that one of the things that I've discovered as I've interviewed a lot of people and talk about their ag roots. It seems like those of us raised around agriculture, and it doesn't have to be on a farm, with the life and death and the ins and outs of agriculture, it builds a resilience in us where when we get a roadblock, we figure out how to get over it, around it, or move it instead of stop it. Is and it seems like you're trying to do that to try and figure out how I can move this kid from being a roadblock to maybe he can contribute.
Yeah. And it's never, I'll say this, it never feels like a waste of time, and nor should it, because they're a kid. And even
That's a
the
great
smallest
attitude.
success, yeah, well, I mean, even the smallest success they contribute is great. And I don't think as a society we celebrate our kids enough. I don't think we celebrate them near as much as we should. I think it's so focused on, well, where's that next Chick-fil-A coming in, or
Huh?
where's the next promotion at my work, rather than where's how are our youth doing at the school, where or instead they want to complain about something at the school. Have you tried volunteering?
Hmm?
I have you tried going to the school? Are you like our school in the center of our town is our community center. It is our wellness center. everything in our community should revolve around that building. It is the most important building in our community. And we don't treat it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close. And again,
Well,
that's
that's an
not,
interesting way to put it.
it's not a thing of like evil versus good. Nobody is evil for saying nobody's bad. It's just, I don't think it is an expectation. I don't think we think about it. I think when our grandparents came home from war or being around war and the war ended, the World War II, I think they all said, I want our kids to learn how to read and write. And I want I want our soldiers to go to college. I want our kids to go to college. And I want our kids to create art because we went to war. Otherwise, what the heck was it all for? And then I feel like that was the strength. I feel going through the 50s, we had education, in the 60s, education, and we kept growing through that. And then it just became so economic. Everything was a
Mm.
transaction. Well, Amtrak isn't creating or the post office isn't creating a surplus in revenue for the country. Well, no crap. It's called a service. We pay for it. Why would we expect that? Everything got so focused on transaction, and the same thing became with kids in our community. I don't know if I'm getting off track here or going on a rant, but
Fine.
when we started
That's why
seeing
we do this.
education as a when we started seeing education as a transaction, it made things hard, where it became standardized in a test, which fine, you got to see checkpoints, that's all good and stuff, but they lose that resiliency when it's a transaction. Let's see, I brought it back. We talked about resiliency on the farm. There's full circle.
There you go.
And I feel like they lose that resiliency when everything becomes a transaction, because if the transaction doesn't go out the way you want it to, well, what are you going to do? You're going to look out for a better deal instead of trying to make the transaction work. So that's a good answer. I was long-winded.
There you go. No, that's great. So my grandfather on my mom's side had an eighth grade education, and so did my grandfather on my dad's side. Um, they were both successful. They retired with money, but they valued education because it went beyond that. My grandmother she was a master's holder from Ball State, was a teacher, librarian, worked with one of your relatives. So I understand it. I think one of the things that we have lost because of our black and white society is little L liberal education. And you think back to the founding fathers, they had a liberal education, not in the sense of political, but liberal in the sense that it was called philosophical. They did Greek, Latin, math, science, and they got a liberal education in so many things. And your point
Yeah,
of when we make it transactional and we worry about test scores and we worry about making sure that we have this many students above this line, then we lose little L liberal and we concentrate on things that we can measure. And sometimes those things we can measure are good. In other cases, we miss things that we can't measure, like arts and playing
yeah,
staccato or vibrato or understanding crescendo, decrescendo. Those kinds of things is hard for us to quantify and put a test to it. So they get thrown out with the baby with the bath water.
yeah. I think that's well put. And I mean, we did
Yeah.
quantify it. We did put numbers with it. Like, we go, well, are you involved in band? What was your test score? You put all the average together, and it's like, well, if you're in band or choir or any arts, really, and you're heavily invested in those arts as a student, you're going to score at least 13% higher on average on any given test in school. And sometimes that you
Because
can say, well,
it
that's
adds to the
because, well,
liberal.
yeah.
Well, it
And you
grows
could
your brain.
say, well, it grows your brain. It uses both sides of it. It makes you a problem solver. It gives you something more important than memorizing an answer to a test. It creates a conversation with life. How do I see this? How should I feel with this music? I mean, when you're doing this is not a rag on math. I love math, and math is good, and kids should all do good at math, and math is important. But like, are you ever asking when you're doing a math question, how should I feel about this equation? No, you're not. You're learning
No,
how
it's
to
a
do that
number.
equation. Where art comes in is you finally get a chance to open your mind and say, well, how does this piece of music make me feel, and how can I feel that, make somebody else feel that way, and how can I learn this? It's all language. Everything is language. All of it.
Hmm.
When you learn an instrument, you're learning language, and when you're reading music, you're learning language. It's a loss of communication. That's what's
Well,
important.
and
That's what I feel is very achievable in this community of having a really good band program. And I promise, no matter what, it will be a positive thing. Whether we get to the point where we make state finals every year, or get to the point where we're just always trying to make it, it will always be a positive. It'll never be a bad thing for our community.
oh, I agree, and I'm one of those new band parents, so I appreciate that. The other thing that I see as a band parent is what could be a challenge for you is the really, really, really talented musician, and I you could probably figure out who I'm going to talk about that can play anything and interpret that language so that the person listening to it can feel that language, but is inside a shell that can't communicate like you and I are right now. How do you work with a child like that is so not maybe savant like and help him become a better member of society in addition to being a great musician?
They become a teacher too. They become they get asked to step outside of their role of just a learner, and then they start learning through teaching. I mean, I become a much better professional and music player in general when I started teaching. So the best, I mean, I'll put music in front of them that will challenge them. I know it'll challenge them. I've had some musicians that come through that are going to be better, way better than me, and that's great. It is never a bad thing to be better than your teacher. It is so much fun to watch a kid just be amazing at something and then know they're going to continue to be amazing. But I'll put hard stuff in front of them. I'll make sure that they get their opportunity in the sun, the best that I can do. I mean, got to remember, we're still a high school band program. I'm not. We're not going to be going to Las Vegas and be on the biggest stage. There's only so much I can do in that perspective, getting their name out there. But I will do my best on all that. I will write them their letters. I will recommend where they should go to play and get their, experience. I have a few connections in the community that can boost them. But their best learning opportunity is when they try to teach their peers.
Yeah.
Because then they go, oh, this is a little hard. And then they start thinking about what they're good at in a different way. And then they learn how to do what they're already doing in a different way. And it just starts creating these safeguards in their life of like, okay, I can do this really, really well this way, but can I still achieve my goal if I have to do it a different way? Like, I had a kid when I was working at DeKalb. I had a kid that was a really good player, and marching season just began, and I had a kid that lost all of her feeling on one side of her face, and she had to completely relearn how to play trumpet. Well, I mean, there's more than
Whoa.
one way to skin a cat. So we sat down, we started learning from the beginning, and the section leader at the time stepped into the role of being a mentor in that situation, checking in, teaching them some things, and then they had to also learn how that person was feeling and how to play. They learned a language. They learned to communicate, and they didn't just get incrementally better at their instrument. They got let's just say a little bit better. They got incrementally better, like a lot better at their instrument. There's ways, and it's so much fun when you get kids like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you've got that opportunity in band through the different venues and the different types of band or music that you play to find that spark that might get that person to come out of their shell.
Yeah. Oh, and I've seen so many kids break out of their shell in the band program because it's something where nobody's ever good at this when they begin. Everybody sucks at the beginning of it, and it's one of those things like when you get
Parents
to
will
your
attest to
senior
that.
year, it's maybe they're trauma bonded. I don't know. But when they get to their senior year, they have their tribe. They have this group of people that they've learned everything about, and they all have this one thing in common, that we were willing to suck at something and get better at it, and we did. And that
Yeah.
and everything is the essence of life. It's, I mean, think of any profession where somebody's good at it from the beginning.
There isn't.
No, there isn't.
Right?
And I think of the teaching profession, and everybody goes like, "Well, what can we do to support young teachers the most?" I'm like, "Well, do we have a mentorship program?" No. We expect people to be great at teaching right away, and let's think, it's like 2 out of every 3 teachers quit within their first 3 years because because they're not good at it. Like, well, name one person that is good at a job with it, like really good at their job in the first 3 years, and name one job where you're like, there's not. I mean, there's more than just teaching. I'm not saying like just teaching, but like name 5 jobs where you could just like jump in and be on your own and be expected to go right away.
Yeah, and have nobody
So
looking over your shoulder.
yeah, so band
Yeah.
offers that. I mean, you're never expected to be on your own. You're always by yourself. But then there's opportunities to break out and be on your own in safe situations, and also not safe situations of like you might make a mistake in front of people. But in the end, it's okay. So it's always safe. It's always safe. And I think that's a lesson that they can take with them for the rest of their lives. Okay, when you get in this job, be willing to be a learner, be willing to, think at this for a little bit. I mean, be adequate, be apt and be learning, but I mean, don't get down on yourself so much because you will get better.
Hmm. Well, as you were talking about the progression of a musician from playing notes that you can't understand to when they're a senior, being proficient in interpreting that music and playing it. But when you're talking about marching band and compare it to a football team, that marching band starts from new every single year. Now, sure, they can read music, and they know how to blow their trumpet. They know how to wet the reed and play, but they don't know how to interpret and follow that routine of a marching band when they start. Right? They have to begin from new every year.
Correct. And it's expected for our vets to carry on and pick up from where we left off, but we always start from base one. Like it is how pretty much how do you tie your shoes? Not like that, but like how do we walk on time? How should we look? How do we create a good sound? It's going at it from the very very basics of everything. Not treating everybody like this is your first time walking in, and because that's what you have to do. I mean, the football team has their own challenges, and they got to do that. But at the end of the day, you could have your 11 returning vets, and those are your starters. And there's a bench, and that's not a rag at all. That's how the game's played. It's awesome. But with band, there is no bench. You have to start from the beginning. Everybody has to be efficient, so that 8th grader that's stepping in their first year, they have the same job as a senior.
And if you compare that to a football team, unless you have a change in coaching staff, the base plays are the same from year to year. Red right, oh, the running back's gonna run between the guard and the end or whatever. Red left, and he's gonna be whatever. The band, yeah, what you guys marched last year is completely different than what you're marching this year.
All right, and the best thing I always say is because I got a few football players in the band, and I was like, "Oh, you dropped that pass," but I remind them that when we get to semi-state, that there's no fourth down, there's no third down, there's no second down, there's first down, and in this first down, you are expected to get to the end zone. And I'm not saying that you might not fumble, but you have to pick that ball up and you have to get to the end zone. Because if we mess up big enough, like, we're going home. We don't have a second half. There's no fourth quarter, third quarter, halftime, or second quarter. There is the first minute of the game, and here we go. I don't have any power in that situation, so good luck.
Yeah, we pulled all the rabbits out of the hat. It's all or nothing.
Yep. And isn't that so great? Like, it's terrible to sit there and just be out of control of the situation, but as a lot of directors say, but as I think about it, when were we ever in control of the situation? When were we ever out there marching the spot for them? Never. They're always been the ones doing it, so relax. It's gonna happen. It'll be fine. Will it? I don't know, but it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. That's right. So, in your short career, what have you learned is your most challenging type of music to teach?
Most challenging. You're gonna have to give me a specific year, because if we're talking like beginning band, that's gonna it'd probably be with harmonies, because then they can't hear each other and stick on one note and they don't know the partials. If we're talking about intermediate band, like middle school level, that's a part about my job, is it's all through the beginning through the end. If we're talking about intermediate, the hardest part's probably going to be, if not sophisticated hard, it's going to be slow music. It's going to be tough chords. It's going to be it's going to be playing music with emotion. That's the hardest part. And then when it comes to high school, it's probably going to be a technicality kind of thing. It's going to be music that moves from fast to slow to the intermediate to all that stuff. And that's kind of the thing. That's the most fun music, by the way. And I feel like we did that really well with that this last concert season. I feel the pieces that they were able to pull off and stuff. And then my favorite part was just the emotion. They're getting to a point where they actually have emotion in their music. And my friend, I was sitting down, I could use his name, Chris at Mission Decal's band director. We're good buds. We were sitting down and having a meal, and they were after us at Isma Snyder. And so they were standing around the corner, and they could see us through the window in the library warming up. And he's just like, man, I just thought the coolest thing was I was just looking at you and your kids, and every single one of your kids, including the percussionists, were locked in. Every single one. I was like, I didn't see a single person looking away. I didn't see a single person disinterested. I didn't see a single percussionist that thought they were just playing their instrument. And that, to me, was the epitome of everything I want to hear. Everything. It's not just a vision thing of, I want them to look good and sound good to everybody else. It was like, just to hear somebody else say that they believe the kids are locked in and I thought they were locked in, that was everything.
That's a heck of a testament from a peer.
It's a 10,000 of state final appearances put together all in one. That's the feeling you get when you hear something like that of my concert band was locked in. Like it's But we can't beat that.
Well, and the thing about concert band, those are the kids that just got in band. I mean, I don't mean that. They're the ones that just are in band. It's not marching band. It's not jazz band. It's not winter guard that went above and beyond. This were the kids that just signed up to be in band.
Yeah. And that's why I treat my marching band like a concert band. It's a concert band on the move. And
Mm.
if our concert band is good, everything else will fall in suit.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I did when I got to Leo, and I got a lot of. I'm not going to say mean emails. I'm going to say um, questionnaires. I got a lot of questionnaires of why I was doing that. But when first thing I got when I got to Leo was I got rid of the marching band quote unquote class, which was happening during the school day. I moved my 8th graders and to their 8th grade concert band class, and I put my color guard kids had 2 choices: either go to another art class or pick up an instrument and learn it. And that was one of the best things we did, which was like when we are in class, we are a concert band. That is what it's going to be, because everything evolves from this. And then if we do this right, it's going to take time, and it's going to take years and years. But if we do this right, everything we do in this classroom is going to be out on that field, and it will take care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And that kind of gets back to some of the basics that we're taught in military and in life. If you got the basics right, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, like the military always talks about, can you do your job? that's the big thing. It's like, can you do your job? And can you do it under pressure? And they face so much more pressure than I hope any of my band kids ever have to face. But yeah, it's kind of like that same idea, I guess. It's like, can
Mm-hmm.
you do your job? And can you do
Wow.
it when you're tasked with you?
So, while we're talking about tough, difficult things, how do you work with administration when the band gets short shrifted compared to other extracurricular activities? Or do you
I
feel you're
just
getting
put on
short
my
shrifted?
Wi-Fi here, so
Let's start with
can you
that.
hear me?
Do you feel
I
you're
think I
getting
might
the
have.
support from the administration at Leo Junior Senior High School that the
Can you hear me
band
yet?
deserves?
Oh, there you are.
There you go. A little lag. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I
I'll
had to
ask that again.
switch to my Wi-Fi. Yeah, can you ask that question one more time?
Do you think you're getting the support, number one, that you need, or number two, that you want from the administration at school?
Yes. Um, from day one, our administrators have. So the first thing they said to me was, if you need something, ask. And they've bought probably $20,000 worth of percussion equipment for the program. Where they'll find where they'll nickel and dime some things. And whenever I ask, as long as it's reasonable, and if I prove that the kids need it for class and for stuff, they have gone above and beyond, and they have gotten that. And I
That is,
have very little complaints about the support. When we had issues with some kids being mean to band program, which was kind of carried over. This was my first year. It was kind of carried over from before. There was some arguments that happened. There's some kids getting bullied, and I brought that up to them. And I was having talks with my kids, being like, you're just bigger than that, you know." What did they do for days on end? They wore nothing but Leo Band's gear, and they walked around the halls, and they made sure that that image was known, that this is a part of our community and we support it. And I thought that was cool. They've uh, pretty much any repairs I've needed, as long as it's reasonable, they've been there for it. East Island, when you say support that I need, yes, East Island County is doing good stuff behind the scenes. I think they're growing into it. I think they're starting to see that how important it is. Now, I think you're hinting at buildings.
Maybe.
Uh, I am. I'll let you. I'll let you have your point of view on that. I will say that we're getting a band tower, and we're going to get a practice facility, and that's the first time in Leo's history.
That is so
And it'll
awesome
be
to hear. I get to,
yeah.
can I take the first picture of you on the band tower?
Yes, that'll be fine. In 2 years, you can do that.
Okay.
Your boy will be a senior,
If he's
so hopefully he's on that field when he's a senior. But I do we need more? Always. Will I consistently be a thorn in their side asking for stuff? Yes. But we'll have the best marching band facility in East Allen County, and I'm going to be really proud of that. Now it has to be built, so we'll wait.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes. But I have every, and this is not just me being political. I have every hope that everything is going well, and I truly believe that they have my back, and I think that they support it.
Well, growing up with a teacher in the house, I can tell that you're not being political. You're being truthful in your answer. Not that I didn't expect you to be. So I am glad to hear that you're getting support and that you're getting a band tower, because that is so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a game changer. It really is. I know it sounds silly, hey, the band director being really high up is going to make things better, but I mean, when we were only marching 25 to 30 winds on the field, you could see all that from a tiny tower. And yeah, it wasn't pathetic that I was standing on a scaffolding tower for rehearsals. Yeah, it was, but it was a product of who we were. We were a small ragtag group, and everything we had was small and ragtag. And going into this season, we're going to have 10% of the school's population out on that practice field. And the districts, to give credit to the district, they recognize that. And if we didn't have that, I don't think that we would have a band tower. I don't think that all the stuff, because what band directors have to know is that you're not going to get anything, you're not going to get credit for nothing. You got to build a program. You can't build the building and build a tower and then expect a program to just happen. You have to build the program, and then you have to walk up with your army of people, and you have to say, look at this, look what I gave you. Here, this is for you.
Yeah.
And then they go, that is awesome. We want to be a part of that.
That is cool. Well, and I think it's a testament that the school board had recognized the people that were on the honor band.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's so cool. It's one of those things we talked about earlier, celebrating kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly doing that every week. They're constantly putting stuff out to celebrate the kids, no matter the sport or school, creating a sense of community of just trying to say, hey, look at what this kid did.
Huh?
Look what they did. And I feel like a lot of districts do overlook their band program and take that for granted. But that kid making the honor band, that's a pretty big freaking deal.
Yeah.
That is, they're representing the school. I mean, you could say, well, they didn't win state finals. I'm like, well, 99.9% of other kids don't. They don't.
It was only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just so you know, I went to Northrop, and my sister marched on the Big Orange Pride, and that was when
Okay.
Yeah, it was. The football team sucked. The basketball team was okay, but the marching band was good.
They had like 300 in the band then with Barry Ashton.
Yeah, it was just amazing. And I've got exposed to the band because my niece was in color guard at Carroll, so we went to a bunch of their programs, and we did the comparison. And the way that I compare bands is I measure the tubas because it's easy. Oh, they've got 14 tubas. Oh my God.
You're not alone in that. I'm kind of in the same deal where it's like I gotta have more tubas, man. Like tubas, nothing makes you look more serious than more tubas.
We need to make a Christopher Walken of you. I need more tubas.
If only they didn't cost $13,000 each. Uh,
Yeah.
well, that's another thing is like the administration of their support that they've given and how they want to get us to state. And I want to get us going. It's like those 2 new tubas that completed our set of 4. I went to the principal and I said, "Hey, we sold our other sousaphones, and like we will buy one of these tubas. Can you buy the other? And that way we get these 2." And the response back was, "Here's the full amount for both. Get them
Oh,
to stay."
wow. Okay,
And
so there's a challenge there.
but that's the thing is they have to look at things where they have to balance their budget. They have to be good stewards
Mm-hmm.
of the community's dollars, and then with all these budget changes, which are going to be shorted even more, which is ridiculous, but we don't have to get on that. They have to. Us getting that money was a direct decision of like that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important, and it's going to very much improve our community. And they believe that, and they put it towards it. So that cannot be taken for granted. Those kind of decisions, especially when it comes to that kind of money, it's not chump change. Every single dollar is accounted for. It's
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
that's something that has to be appreciated.
Well, I'll be a little more direct, Colby. That's a direct that's a direct benefit and a result of what you've built as a program.
Thank you.
I mean,
I
we wouldn't have the
appreciate that.
band program we have at Leo without you. And with the support you
But
brought to the band and the way that you've put enthusiasm with the kids, you've got kids involved, is growing the band, and you're being rewarded by the administration by buying 2 new tubas, by committing to a tower. I mean, you're doing good stuff, bud.
I appreciate that. They are working their tails off. They are making it happen. The kids are like he could. I will. I appreciate the kind words and everything, but like whenever I say we're growing, it's them. They went out. They're the ones that created the performance to get them in. The program wouldn't exist if the kids didn't decide it was going to happen.
Oh, without a
When
doubt.
when I
But you've set up the
when I,
atmosphere where those kids are willing to go and do the work.
I appreciate. I don't ever take. I don't take credit well, but I appreciate that. It's nice for you to say that.
Well, how else are we going to march 85 or 90, 10% of the school? When you started, we were only doing 45, and that included the flags. That wasn't because
You gotta.
people magically like, oh, I want to be in band.
No, you have to go out and you gotta get them. You gotta create an atmosphere where, as we talked about earlier, you're going to get punched on the chin. You're going to lose every single competition. But then again, there's this thought process of I'm going to pass off something better. I'm going to be the one that passes off a better group. I will never forget my first set of seniors, and it was. I still don't know how we grew going into the second year because I was fully expecting to be smaller the second year. But we had 30 in the horn line, and I graduated 18.
Ooh.
So you can see why in the back of my head, I'm like, oh man, nothing was done for recruitment by the past. Like, COVID just wrecked everything. And I was like, man, these next few years are going to be rough. And we're going to be half the size of this going to the next year. And I'm like, I hope we could survive it. But we just spent so much time just having campfire chats and being like, we're going to go out there and we're going to sound great. And we're going to march well, and who knows what will happen. But most likely we're going to get beat. And I want you to look past that. I want you to not even think about that. I want you to understand that we got better this week, and next week we will be better than that. And we're going to have a good time. And maybe in 3 or 4 years, if we keep doing this, I never said maybe, I said we will. In 3 or 4 years, as long as we keep doing this, then we're going to start seeing results.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be brave enough to see it through. And I'm going to be right there with you. And trust me, when we lose and we get last place, you guys are going to go home. You're going to eat your Doritos and your pizza rolls, and you're going to have a good time. And then I'm going to march my butt into the judges counter, and I'm going to be the director of the last place band. And you know what? I'm going to be happy about it and proud of you guys no matter what. So I think it's, sure, credit of creating an environment, but credit to them making a lone nut successful. Because with if any of the kids ever listen to that, they'll know what I mean by the leader is overrated. It's actually the first follower that deserves all the credit, because they're the one that transforms the lone nut into a leader, and that comes from a TED Talk. You should watch that.
Okay.
It's the Shirtless Dancing Man TED Talk.
Shirtless dancing men. Okay.
And it's just this guy in the field he's just dancing. He looks like he's crazy and stuff. But then it's like at this music festival. But then this random guy walks up to him, and instead of, like this guy kind of pushing him away or anything, he treats that guy like an equal. Like, you are the first follower. He brings him in. He shows him the way. And it's actually not the leader that called the other people in. It was the first follower. He's the one that waves to everybody else. And then that creates momentum. Then there's 2, then there's 3, and then the next thing a group joins in. And then by the time the video ends, most people at the music video are dancing around this group. And that's how you create a movement. So we talked a lot about that over the last couple of years, and we'll continue to talk about that. When we get to state finals, or heck, if we ever win it, we will have the mentality of, okay, how are we creating where we want to be? We're starting at base 1, and this is a new year. We are 1-0, and that is, how do we do it again?
Well, I've seen
even
that.
Better.
I've seen that with my son, and it was after one pep band competition, or pep band at one of the basketball games, and he got in the car and he said, "I think I got Jay and convinced to march."
Yep, that's how it works.
Yeah, it's the branches that go out.
Of course, I've had a few kids where I've talked to in the hallway where I've been like, "What are you doing during the fall and summer?" And they'd be like, "Nothing." I'm like, "I know what you're doing. Like, come along this way. Here's a packet. Fill it out. Turn it in when you're here. You're welcome to the guard." I've had those kind of situations, and those sometimes be my best students usually.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's them. They go out and they go, "Hey, you want to be a part of something?" They choose their group of people of like, "You're a hard worker. I know you're going to help us. I know that." So, and then, most of the time they're going to be told no because those kids are doing some other activity, and that's cool too. But as long as the kid's doing something.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get them doing something.
You're no less if you're not doing the marching band. Just by golly, be doing something.
Yeah. Well, I will. Okay, anybody that listens to this and I say this, they're going to be like, "Well, no, duh." I'm the emotional one of our relationship between me and my wife. I shed more tears than she does. And for some reason, music moves me. It does. And I almost had to leave the cafeteria when we came to the spring concert when Dylan was out there on his piano. It was Dylan, right?
Okay. Yeah.
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 He's been to my house because we had a couple sections. And getting him to talk is impossible. It's his personality. But my God, he can talk with that instrument. Doesn't matter if it's a trombone or that piano, we got to hear him. And you exposing us to that beauty, and he's just the example of what you're doing. Oh, I makes my
It's incredible.
yes.
It's one of those things where it's like when everything's a transaction in life, as we talked about it. Say you have somebody that doesn't like to have conversation like out loud, you write them off. You say they're not smart or anything. But where else can a kid prove to you? Can they prove to you that I am actually extremely smart and I don't need to really talk a lot to do my job well?
Mm-hmm.
Where else can we do that than art?
Yeah. And he's a testament to it.
Oh, great! He's going to be successful no matter what he does.
Yeah.
As long as he has passion in what he's doing, I think he's going to be happy. Yeah. If you get a student like that and they don't talk to you or anything, it's so easy to write off. But if you hear them, you just know that, okay, you're going to be successful and I can trust you to do what you need to do.
Yeah. Well, it gives us another way for them to express themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's all they need. They don't need another test. They don't need, like, a job is great and everything. They're going to work the rest of their lives, but that's not the measure of who they are or what they're capable of.
And
it used to be about what you could create. The most famous people in the world that we think of, the ones that created something, mm-hmm. that he had to create.
Yeah.
Michelangelo, who would he be without, painting and sculptures?
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody would know his name without David in the Sistine Chapel. He'd be just another Italian.
If you really want to be remembered, you better learn how to create.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, we've had a great conversation, and I appreciate you taking time. I'm going to, every one of my podcasts, I end with 5 questions. And typically they're straight questions, but I'm going to modify them just a little bit for you so you can't get out of here scot-free without answering his questions.
Okay.
All right. So the first question is, what is one lesson that you learned on the farm that you carry with you every day?
Life is precious. And how do I say this? There's beauty in everything. Life is precious. And life is almost like the crops coming and going. You only get a certain amount of time. And how you start from the beginning really affects how you end. And that's all you get. So start well, mm-hmm. Take care of yourself, take care of everything around you, and everything will start taking care of itself. As long as you take care of everything around you and do your bases, you're good. But I'd say life is good and precious.
Good and precious.
Because you got a lot of animals you raise and a lot of animals that will pass. So your favorite animals, and you got to learn how life works.
Yes, you do. That's a great answer. If you could have coffee with one historical figure, who would it be?
I would have it with Plato. Because he has one of my... We could have even a whole nother podcast on this one. But it is about Ice Age civilizations, man. That guy got me going with his conversations. And I'm not talking about Atlantis only. I want to sit down and talk to that man, and I want to hear his thoughts on, like, how did he come up with that very precise date of when he thinks Atlantis existed, and also his very good instructions on stuff. Uh-huh. Am I believe that Atlantis had flying machines and everything? No, they did not. Nobody's had that. But was it a civilization? Heck yes, it was. And it was on the coastline, and the oceans rose when the ice is melted, and they got battered, and it's gone. So I want to have a conversation with that man.
With Plato.
I think
That's
Yeah, because I don't know anybody else before him that had any direct correlation with Ice Age civilization, so I gotta say Plato. But I love that subject so much.
I will.
If I could be an archaeologist too, I would be an archaeologist.
Cool. What is one underappreciated or quirky thing about being a band teacher that more people need to know?
Um, that I have a family too, and that I don't live at the school.
Ah,
I know I say that as a joke, but I'm just a member of the community, and I have my Crocs on right now, and I am relaxing as well.
you have a
I'm
life
not all
outside of the
uptight.
band room.
I'm not all uptight like everybody thinks band directors are. I make a lot of mistakes, and I like my angel food cake plain.
Okay. What is your favorite ag-related tool? Or no, that's fine. What is your favorite tool to use with the marching band,
To use with the marching band,
or in the classroom?
I would say my harmonic keyboard. I use that thing all the time. It has metronome on it. It tunes chords for you. So I don't know if you noticed, but like when you play a chord, 3 notes, it doesn't only like you don't just have to play each of those notes perfectly in tune, but you actually have to adjust each of those notes. So like think of them as 1 through 100, and 1 through 100 positive, 1 through 100 negative, and 0 is perfectly in tune. Well, the first note's 0 because it's the root. The third note needs to be a -13, and the top note needs to be a +2. So how do you train kids to hear that? This tool does that for you.
Oh, wow.
You play a chord and it'll automatically adjust it to that chord, and it'll do what we call pure intonation. And then you have gosh, see, this summertime's getting me so I lose all of my language. Um, well, anyway, you got pure, and then you have tampered intonation, which will play the actual note into. I love that tool.
And it makes it better for you to allow the students to understand the notes.
Oh yeah, and they'll sit there and I'll geek out about it, and then they'll look at me like, "Can we just move on from this?" What they don't know, what they don't know is that they're doing it still, whether they mean to or not, because they heard it, and their brains are amazing things, and their brains heard it, so they're doing it. And I'm like, I don't need you guys. Like, I need you to understand it, but if you're not going to understand it, I still need you to do it. So,
Yeah, your brain understands it. Just do it.
yep, just trust your ears. You'll be all right.
So I'm going to change my last question because I had to go back to another question. What is your favorite type of music to play? And what is your favorite instrument to play?
Trumpet, of course, is my favorite. And my favorite music to play. Are you talking like genre? Are you talking like style?
Sure.
Okay. My favorite kind of music to play would be anything beautiful, anything slow, anything that is expressive. That is the hardest stuff to play. Everybody can play fast music, but slow and steady and beautiful, I love that.
What would
There's just
be
something about
what would be a recent piece that you've played that was slow and expressive?
it. Recent?
Or one that we could relate to?
Well, that's a hard question. Because I'm trying to think of now. I got to think of what kind of band. I'm in jazz season right now. I love this piece we're playing in jazz. It's been a long, long time. It's just this ballad from the 1930s that we're playing. It's just, I love it. Everything about that piece. It's slow, it's steady. a lot of people will know that song from like the end of the Avengers, because it's like when Captain America is dancing with he goes back in time and he dances with his wife that he missed out on all those years, and they're dancing to that song. It's just everything about that song is beautiful. And then I'd say probably my favorite slow song that we've played has to be Corsican Litany.
Oh my God. I wrote about that one.
I love that song. I think that one will that one will be played again. But I have a 3-year contract with playing soon, so sorry. It's going to be 3 years.
Wow. That was one of them that just mesmerized me when that was played.
That song would be nothing without emotion. If they just played the chords and they just played the notes, that song would be nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. They have to play the feeling into those notes for that one to really be impactful.
Correct.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to conjure anger at times. You gotta be that song. She's like, it's a death march. It's not fair. It's something like, but it's still happening. And I gotta come to terms with it. And it's just this beautiful music in the midst of something ugly and it shows its ugly head on. Everything about that piece is really cool.
Well, when we're done, I'm going to play that song because today I was at a funeral for a 24-year-old. That would be a perfect one for me to listen to.
Yeah, it brings back the epitome of how everybody feels in those situations, I think.
Uh-huh. Wow. And the cool part is you got to teach my son how to play that song. Thank you.
Well, the cool part is that you're welcome. The cool part is that I never heard that song before we started playing it, and they let me listen to it.
Huh.
That's the cool part too. So I get it as the mentor. I get to sit back and listen to it, and that's cool.
Well, Mr. Stackhouse, you have my respect.
Thank you. You as well. Right back at you. If it weren't for my parents and the program, it'd be impossible.
Well, you have done a great job. I'm a farmhouse. I'm in farmhouse fraternity, and one of the mantras that we have, one of the mottos, is to be a leader of men. And you, my friend, are a leader of our young people. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right.
You guys know.
Yeah. So before I shed too many tears, thank you, Mr. Stackhouse, for spending an hour with me. You have given me so much more insight into how you lead, how you pull the talent that these children are innately born with. I have a better appreciation for how you're leading the students, and I've got a greater appreciation for the support you're getting from our administration. And I'm so happy to hear that. I appreciate your time. Thank you for spending it with me this evening.
I've enjoyed our conversation.
Right. And for my listeners, this was just a little bit of a change from what we usually talk about. But Colby has a strong background growing up on the farm, and it's obvious that what he learned on the farm, taking care of his livestock, exploring, spending time on the farm, those ag groups helped form him into being the leader of young people today. And he's doing a great job for the Leo community and Leo Junior High School. We're going to have more of these conversations where we dive deep into people's ag roots and how they formed them and how they made them the people they are today. I appreciate all your likes, follows, and suggestions for new guests. Hey listeners, before we dive into today's episode, a quick heads up. At about the